Hi everyone, welcome to today's Bonsai. On today's episode, the plant room is starting to get ready for the... Wait a minute. You don't want to hear about the plant room yet?
I'm guessing you'd all like to know what's going on with the PSGF. So let's do that again. Hi everyone, welcome to today's Bonsai. On today's episode, PSGF Part 8. Yes, to dig or not to dig? That was the question. And a big thanks to everybody who mentioned things in the comments, questions, ideas. It was really great to see all the support. And here was the finding. I dug, but not in here. That's right. I was able to bring in some more dirt and put that in, sand actually, and then bring in the gray quartz rock that I have to lay down the foundation for the floor of the passive solar green frame. Super exciting for me to do that. Now here's the scoop. The consultants over at Verge Permaculture were not too concerned about the water or sand getting down there into the air tubes. Water will make its way down and the sand will make its way down. The sand will not probably go through the socks that are on the tubes. There might be a little bit of water, there'll be condensation in those tubes. There will be water down there, but probably not enough to create any concerns. It would take a long time and a lot of watering. Thanks to the many comments from all of you, there's a lot of things I could do to protect from that water getting too much down in the lower sections of the PSGF. So I could just have some trays, drip trays, or some tubs that I keep my pots in on the main shelves, and then I won't be getting a lot of water seeping through. Another great idea would be to have a drain system that goes outside of the PSGF. So I'd have some kind of, again, drip trays or tubs that collect the water and then release the water through some tubes out to the back of the PSGF on the back north side or possibly the back northeast corner of the passive solar green frame. Now, one idea that I thought was really good and is what I was going to possibly do as well is I thought that I could put some 2x4s, not flat but more vertical up and down across the floor from cement of the foundation wall to the cement on the other side of the foundation wall, front to back, south to north, and put a whole bunch of slats down there and then attach them with a 2x4 and then throw the rocks in here. And then I'd be standing more on those 2x4s if I had enough of them close together and not so much the rocks making all that compression happen. But that would have been a lot of 2x4s and it would have raised me up probably 2-3 inches more than I wanted to be. So I decided not to do that either. To dig or not to dig? I dug but not down deeper. And so behind me here, I have a floor that has all the rocks in here. So let's give you a quick look at that. So here we have the floor of the PSGF, and it's this gray quartz rock. There's a little bit of rose hint in here as well, so I get a little bit of a pink color, and when it's wet, it's really, really rich and really, really pretty. So I put that up to the 2x4 that holds the entire structure in, right about there. Now I'm going to have to put a little bit more of the rock in this area, and for a very specific reason. So I'm going to add some shelving in here eventually, right? And I don't have any pillars right here to hold the shelf up. I've got a 2x4 running all the way around the length and the two widths here. I'm gonna have about a 2-foot shelving system here. So I'm gonna put 2 posts, one right here and one right here. So to do that, I had to make some foundations. As I get closer and closer to putting in some benches in the PSGF, I needed to make a couple of footings here. And these footings are going to sit on top of the gray rock that's in the floor of the passive solar green frame. And these are going to act as, well, just that wider base, that footing to support what's going to be a round tube of cement. So I'm either going to go ahead and buy the footing cardboard and pour some cement in there, but I also had another idea. I have some leftover 6-inch pipe, PVC pipe. I could just put that right on here, pour the cement in, and then I'm just going to spray paint it all black. Now the reason why we're spray painting it all black is because this is going to be thermal mass. So rocks are a good conductor of heat real slowly. The slow release of the heat will keep the passive solar green frame warmer at night. So spray painting these black, it'll warm up on the sunshiny days as the sun goes through the greenhouse green frame. It'll warm up these blocks, and then at night it'll slowly release that heat. So the pillars will be made of cement and these slabs are made of cement. I just need to complete the spray painting and construction of them, and I'll be able to actually put up my first bench in the PSGF. As I continue to try to save money, I was able to find some leftover spray paint that we had for other projects and able to give the first coat here on the cement footings. A little bit of a shiny kind of gray / brown black metallic-y looking thing, but they'll be at the bottom of the green frame and then covered up with a cylinder pillar here and covered up with some gray rocks. Won't see it that much. I might be able to put a coat of black real quick over there for one final coat, and then we'll have a real dark cement slab that's going to retain a lot of heat. It's going to track the heat, it's going to soak up that heat, and it's going to slowly release it into the PSGF. And so the pillar and the foundation will sit on the rock. And so I can adjust it based on the rock, higher or lower if I need to, and then I'll have the shelf structure really nice and firm here. And if it does sink just a little bit, well, the water will just creep this way instead of that way and fall right here as far as the PSGF. And this will be my main walking area eventually, so I might put a little bit more rocks on here for a little bit of a mound because it might settle a little bit, and then I can always rake it out as we get use of the PSGF. I might put some paver stones in the middle, and that might give me some nice walking area. And again, I won't crunch all the rocks down so much. I'll be on a bigger surface that won't maybe compact as nasty over time. But I love how it looks. I love how it's coming together. We've got a whole lot more to show you today. I've had a lot of decisions to make with the passive solar green frame, and one of them was what was going to be the final surface of the inside. Now, when you look at Nigel Saunders' greenhouse up there in Canada, over and up, all glass, all metal. Now I'm making a passive solar green frame with a lot of insulation in the walls, and it's not all glass and metal, only the south facing and a couple small windows on the east and west side. And so I have a lot of surface area that of course could get wet. So I was going to use decent plywood and maybe just stain it, but of course eventually you'd have to stain it again, and there's a lot of water in there and a lot of nooks and crannies within plywood of any kind, whether it's particle board or it's smooth sheets of plywood. You're going to probably get that mold and bacterial growth more often, and whatever kind of fungus could hang in there, so we don't want that. I also was thinking about going with some corrugated steel, kind of like what I'm going to have on the outside and the roof, but I just didn't know that could rust over time too. If it's galvanized, it probably wouldn't rust, but over time, with a lot of moisture on it, it could eventually rust. But in a greenhouse with the humidity, I don't know if that was going to be a factor or not. So I ended up going with some hardboard. So your typical hardboard has kind of that dark brown particle looking in here on this side. And on this side, it's almost like a whiteboard that you would have at school. So this whiteboard, I probably could put dry erase marker on here and write on here and erase it. But eventually that would get dirty and old, so I'm not going to be doing that on this surface. But it's smooth, and it won't have a lot of nooks and crannies and pores in here to collect any of the fungus or mold or mungus. We could create a new word here. And so I have this first east wall done. So I have the crack in the middle there where I had to put the parts together. But I'll have trim work. Anywhere there's cracks that you see, there'll be a final trim piece on there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually spray paint the whole thing a gray color. Because that's the other thing that I had to battle. With the passive solar green frame, you know, I want the nice white in the summertime because that'll reflect that light off and it'll keep it real nice and bright in here. But then in the wintertime, what a lot of people do with this north wall is they'll have it black. And so when you have that black north wall, that's going to collect more of that heat, right? And it's going to then slowly, hopefully, release into the passive solar green frame throughout the night as temperatures start to drop. Now, this kind of particle pieces of hardboard, whatever this material is actually made of here, this is not going to hold and maintain a lot of heat. That's where possibly some steel would have been better, that galvanized steel, corrugated siding. So that would have been a benefit to having that product. But I'm going to have some other things in here, the passive solar green frame, that will hopefully maintain some of that thermal mass, thermal energy to slowly release the warmth. So I just want really smooth-faced walls that I will spray paint the color of my choice. It's been kind of a gray theme, so I'll stick with gray. And if I want to go lighter gray for the summer, I could. Or I could go a darker gray, kind of like the tubes back here, and that'll maybe warm up a little bit. I'm going to have no problem with heat in the summertime. As a matter of fact, my first readings with my Govee thermostat in the green frame here over the last week or two, the highest temperature I've gotten in here with the last window being in place, I've gotten to 136 degrees right in this range up here. It's a little bit cooler down below and a little bit cooler up above where the vents are, but right here in the middle, 136. I've also reached 130 once or twice. Typically it's been in the 90s, but again, this is late summer, early fall readings. Just think when it's, 90 degrees outside. Now, that in mind, the days that it hit 130 in here, it was 85 to 90 outside. We've had a really warm fall. And so I'm going to have to be able to cool that off in the summertime. And that's what the ground air tubes are for. I turned them on and it did cool it off a good 10 plus degrees when I did the test. But the thing is I'll only have tropicals in here, and I don't mind 90 degrees. I just don't want my other trees to fry, but they won't be here in the heat of summer generally. So the biggest concern about the surface and the color and everything is more the winter time. So I do want it a little bit darker color because I'm not going to worry about reflecting the light too much with white, and it's just too bright. It'll blind us up at the house. So we're going to go with probably a dark gray, and we're going to spray paint this whole thing. We'll cover up the windows, we'll cover up what needs to be covered up, and then we're just going to wear our big mask and just go in here and go crazy with some spray paint. And then I'll be able to have a uniform color in here with the trim work covering up all those cracks and crevices so water doesn't creep down. We'll put a little caulk in there before we put the board on. We'll caulk it up and then slap the board on and pound that in place, or drill it in place, and then we'll go ahead and spray paint it all so it's pretty darn sealed up. I'm looking forward to that. Although spray painting is going to be a beast in here. It's going to take a long time. As the sun comes out of the clouds, I'm excited to show you that the solar panel has been installed. So we have some hinges on top, and we have this support beam right here where most of the weight is on this right here. And then in the summertime, when I want more of the sun to power up the power station, I can go ahead and lift this up and have it at an angle that's more like this for the midday sun and all that glorious summer sunshine. But the late fall, winter, and early spring, it's going to stay in this position. One, because of the snow and the ice and the messiness of it. And I'm just going to come out here and make sure the snow is off it and broom it off and everything. But this is going to power the fan that's inside, or any other power source that I need, some lights possibly for working out here in the evening, or whatever I do. Now, this is rated for 200 watts. So if you know anything about solar and solar panels, I've researched now for the last couple of years, you always want to get more than you think you're going to need. Now, this is a 200 watt panel because I've been stretching my funds pretty thin. This has cost me a lot more than I anticipated. This is a 200 watt panel, but it's only going to get at its best peak summer straight up and down, maybe in the 160 range. In my test so far since I've owned this, I've never seen more than 150, 155 watts coming through, not 200. But that wattage will collect in the power station, and for how little I hope I have to use power in here, this should be a good. If not, I'll probably go up to 300 or 400 watts next time, and if I can get a 400 watt at this dimensions, it'll fit on my passive solar green frame. But this is the first year of testing. We'll see how it does. Now the sun goes in and out of the clouds, and the power will go to the power station. Let's go check that out and see how it's going to receive some energy right now. The solar panel on the outside sends in the wires on the inside up there at the top of the PSGF, and so the wire comes on down. And so as I follow the wire down, we can see that it's just kind of dangling in the air. Right there. And it's hanging over on the exhaust fan there and the tubing. But let's go look at the power station that it connects to right there. So the power source is coming down here, and this is the DC PV input, which is receiving energy from the sun right now. And we've got the on and off switch right here, which is all in the sun right now, so you're not going to be able to see it. But we have right now, I'm getting 15, well, let's see what that says. It says 154 watts right now, so that's maybe the highest I've gotten. What's nice about the Blue Eddy is that I have my phone app here, and I can kind of look at this at any time in my yard and see what's going on. Right now we have 150 watts, just dipped down to 147. This tells me what's coming in, and it tells me what's going out. So right now I just have the AC on, so I can plug in this thermometer. I have a lot of these that are battery operated, and that's this one right here, my Govee. And this one's attached to Wi-Fi, so I can get a good signal anywhere. And this one needs to be plugged in. So one of the things about the Blue Eddy, and this is probably true with a lot of power stations, is that if you don't use it for a long time, sometimes they shut down, especially what's called the eco mode. So I took this one off the eco mode, and it should stay on as long as I have something plugged in, just so it looks like it's wanting to draw some energy. Now at home, when you're using energy and you have something plugged in like a toaster, it's hardly taking any energy, but they've always said that it takes just a little bit, right? So there's signals being sent through there, so that circuit is kind of complete all the time, right? Because there's something plugged in. So right now, my phone tells me that there's no watts going out to take this piece of thermometer equipment here. Nothing. It's hardly draining anything. It says 0 watts. But I had 154 watts when I first plugged it in from the sun being out with no clouds. Now it went under the clouds, and I'm down to 48 watts. So this is going to fluctuate all day long and hopefully power this up. When I started today, I was about 34% power in the actual system, and now I'm up to 40% battery life. And so I'm hoping by the end of the day, this will get well over 50%. And the more sun we have, the better we'll be off. Now, I could always bring this in the house and plug it in with the house power if I go down to 0, and that only takes about an hour and a half with this Blue Eddy. So a super nice system. I've got 4 outlets right here. I've got some outlets right here too, with your USB-A ports, your USB-C, and so I can come out here and I can tune up some lights. I can tune up my music system if I want with my Bluetooth systems, and I can have some power. I could use my power tools on this as well. This has over 1,500 or maybe 2,000 power surge power, so I could use some pretty hefty power tools here. Now I couldn't run them for a long time, but it would be very, very a good sense of power for out here. In the green frame, I'm only going to be using it for some music. I'm going to be using it for possibly some electrical temperature thermometer readings. The fan. The biggest thing is the fan. So when I go ahead and I plug in the fan unit up above, that'll be plugged in here all the time, and of course that's temperature sensitive, so if it's too cold or too warm, the fan kicks in. But other than that, this will be just storing energy until I need it for the fan. That's generally where I'll use it. Another day is coming to a close. I got a nice coat of stain on about 12 boards here that will become some of the trim boards for inside the PSGF after the nice white covering I put on all the walls. We got wall to wall, east, west, and north all taken care of. We just need the roof and then the back side of the south wall up top there, and then we'll be able to put the trim boards up. So great day, the sun is setting, and it's time to do a little cleanup and go have some dinner. The PSGF is making progress, but we still got a ways to go. I'm at the top of the PSGF looking at a couple of my shed windows that I purchased and installed up at the very tippy top with a couple of automatic window openers. So the key to having these automatic window openers is that they're rated for much higher than you think you'll need. So if this window is about 5 to 10 pounds, maybe 12 with the wood that's on there that I added, you want something that's going to support 15, 20 pounds or more. These openers, I believe, were rated at 30 pounds to open up 30 pounds. That's a lot of weight. But every one I've heard from, all the research I did said these are the things that most people don't do correctly, and you get something that doesn't open the window. Now, this one's opening just a little bit today, even though it's a nice cool fall day, beautiful outside, upper 50s only, but this will only open when it's 75 degrees or warmer, which tells you that it's over 75 degrees at the top of my passive solar green frame. So from the outside, you can see the windows opening just a little bit, and from the inside, that little piston right there, that right there is warming up, and when that warms up, the window starts to open up a crack. And then when it gets below 75, it starts to close. So this will be one of the weak spots of my PSGF as well, because it's not insulated terribly well around the edges yet. And so just cracks there will be left when it opens and closes. But now in the wintertime, that'll probably stay closed most of the time. But again, you get a warm day in February, a warm day in December, 40, 50 degrees. This could warm up to 75 at the top layer, and it will want to open, which will keep it nice and cool in here. I've got the dangling cords from the solar panel out there. We've got to find a place for that once everything's in place. But right now I wanted to show you the ductwork that's going to bring in the hot air and bring it down into the cool down below in the rocks and the air tubes below the surface here. So here is just your basic ductwork, and it's coming up and going over, and it's going to bring all this warm air from this part of the greenhouse. It's going to bring it down to the air tubes down below and back through that back uptake and cool off the place in the summer, and it's going to warm it up in the winter. So that's all ready to go, but we can't attach that until the roof is down. So I have to get that done. So I've run out of trim board, so I can't do any more today with the trim. We've got right, left, and 2 in the center. And we got some trim down by the windows over there, down there, up there, a little piece up in the corner. Also got some right there. So it's looking pretty good in here. It's bright because of the white, but again, we're going to probably spray paint that a grayish color, and we'll just spray paint the whole thing, so there won't be that trim that stands out, but it'll all be one uniform color. I lugged in the 2 big footings that will hold up the pillars that will hold up the bench, the main bench of the PSGF. So here they are. They're not leveled off or anything, and like I said earlier, I believe I said this earlier, I may put a few more stones in here to raise it up just a little bit more, but they're 2 inches off the ground. Actually 3.5 inches off the ground, because this was a 2x4, so about 3.5 inches off the ground. And so then I was going to put a pillar up here. Now, a lot of what makes the passive solar green frame work in the wintertime is thermal mass. So the rocks will provide a little bit of heat that these rocks will soak up the heat in the daytime and slowly release that heat when the sun goes down. But that's not going to last very long, nor will these. But this is 16 by 16, 3 inches thick, both of them. They're going to hold some heat after being in here all day. I just put them in here now, so they're not warm. They're still cold at the touch. But then I was going to buy the footing circle plastic footing things to make my pillars to hold up the benches. But what I thought I would do is use my leftover PVC piping from my tubing. I have just enough to do like 3 pillars, 2 for sure, maybe a third depending on how high this is and where the cutoff is. And so where I see my 2x4 shelf right here and just eyeballing it right now, it's very, very close to the top of this right here. And so you could always shim or put a piece of plywood if it's a 1/4 of an inch too shy. Or again, I could put a few more rocks down here and this would raise it up a little bit more here. But I figured I have these, and the only thing I'm questioning is that if this is covering the cement, will the cement warm up as much for that thermal mass? Now I suppose this would be insulation for that thermal mass of that cement. So if it does get really, really warm in the daytime and that this pillar is really warm inside, maybe it'll slowly release, or will it stay trapped inside because this is trapping the heat? So that's my only question. So I might have to do a little bit of research with that. Because what I was planning to do originally was just get the cardboard ones, then cut the cardboard right off, and I'd have my cement pillars. So the cement tubes will be about here and about here, and then we will have a 2x4 that goes across like this, that's parallel with this one back here. And so when that's out here, going from wall to wall, 2 nice braces right here, we'll get a really supportive shelf. It'll be cement, so it'll hold up to the moisture and all of that. So that's what the pillar and the footings will end up looking like. I'm not sure if you can hear this or not, but the fan and the blue eddy is on because the sun is coming right through the big window now. It's really hot right here, and so this is getting a little baked. Now, not to fear when the PSGF is all done, which we're still a ways from being, there's going to be a little bit of a cabinet right here. So we're going to build a little wooden cabinet here that this is going to house inside. I might insulate that as well, so in the wintertime it won't get much below freezing. In the summertime it won't be roasting hot. So that'll be here, and all the cords from all the electrical stuff, which is mainly just the fan and the solar energy coming in, this blue eddy and anything I plug into it, everything will go back there, so it'll kind of be tucked in out of the way in a little cabinet. So for right now, I think I just need to put it over here, put a little box in front of it, just kind of give it a little bit more shade. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for another day at the Passive Solar Green Frame. We've got a lot done since episode number 7. So we've got all the windows up, all the trim on the outside. I put some more wood on the top and the sides of the the overhang for the roof, so we get the roof on. That'll be nice and neat. Inside, I got all the white walls up, and I got a good amount of the trim. Things are really coming together. I'm super happy. We've got the rocks down below. I've got the footings where the pillars are going to go. So the shelf will come in here and sit on this 2x4 frame with a couple pillars here. We've got the power station that we got up to about 78, maybe 80% energy today. Let's check that out real quick on the app. It's warm up on top, but it's cool right now where I'm at. We're at 84%, so we just really cranked on the power today with all that sunshine. Up by the vent areas there, I've got both of those up now, and so those are slightly open. When that hits 75 degrees as well in here, those will open up more, and that'll allow more air to go out. I'm not as happy with those as I thought I would be. They're pretty cheap plastic. I've got them on both sides. It's a nice little tunnel of air in there, but it's just, again, it's really thin. In the wintertime, that's not going to really hold back much, so I'm going to have to plug those up or have some cover for them at nighttime. But when it gets to 75, they open up and then more air can circulate. I will probably invest in a fan or two, one for one side or the other, maybe both. And so when it is warm in here, that fan is going to turn on and maybe get some of the heat out of that vent or bring in the cool air. Super excited. Oh my gosh, this is fabulous. I can't wait to get the bench up here. So I have to be careful. I can't put the bench in too soon if I have a lot of cumbersome work to do, because working up at the top is really kind of awkward because of how close it is up there. But if I get the bench on here, that'll be super fun. I just don't think the lateral fit is nice if I have the bench already in place. We'll see. We'll see how much I have to do and make that judgment call. But another fantastic bit of progress since the last one. That's going to wrap it up. I think I might just have dinner out here tonight. Hey, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and you know what? We're going to catch you on the next one very, very soon.